When we speak of language experience, we mean the teaching of reading and writing using the learner's own unique experiences and language. This video has been produced to help literacy tutors in training gain some understanding of how to use the wealth of knowledge and life experiences that the students bring with them to literacy sessions, and to effectively use the students' own language and experiences in creating a successful and relevant reading and writing program.
There you go.
Looks as if that's quite heavy, is it?
Yes, nice and solid, nice and solid.
It's a lot bigger than I thought it might be.
Right.
Are they always that size?
Oh, well, coming out of this mould they are, but I've made ones different sizes. But that's easier to cut in half then if I wanted to. Sometimes you've got to have half ones around windows and things.
Language experience is based on the foundation that what we do, we can think about, what we think about, we can talk about, what we talk about, we can write about, and what we write, we can read.
What's it made of? What's it got in there? I can see there's bits of straw, but what else?
Right, well, clay, it's a good start. Clay, some sand, some mulch, and then mix it all together with some water.
How do you mix it? Do you have something mechanical, or what do you do with it?
No, usually mix it by hand in a barrow, or when you want to make a lot of them in a half-water tank, big half-water tank.
Right, so then you put it into there.
Right, mix it all up, put it into your mould. Don't have to press it down much. The moisture's the important thing, and then you've got to lift it up, and out comes your brick.
How do you dry it? Where does it dry?
Just out in the sun. Give it plenty of sun, and when it rains, you've got to keep it very dry, so I put some tin over the top of them.
If you dry it too quickly, will it get all those cracks in it, or how does it get those cracks?
Well, that'd be from drying too quick. That bit on top, but if you flip him over, you'll see that it's not too bad on the other side. And then you can see the sand in there as well.
Through conversation, the tutor and student create rapport, establish knowledge of the topic, and begin to share an interest. It is during this first stage that the decision is made whether to pursue the topic further in terms of language experience.
Right. So you cover it with tin when it's drying?
Yes. Keep the moisture off, keep the rain off, and then it seems to increase the heat during the day into it.
And you have to check it as to when it's ready, or...?
Oh, yes and no. When I'm really ready to lay them, that's when the important time to check them.
How many would you make in a day?
Depends how I feel on the day.
So you got working for you?
Exactly, what help I've got on the day.
Have you got everything on your property, like the mud, is that right, the clay?
Yes. Well, that was one of the good parts about it, yes. Had the clay, we dug out for the foundations. We'll have to get in some sand from the river. And the mulch came from the garden, from the paddocks.
Before we move on from this pre-reading stage, let's take a look at question 1. Presuming Maureen is going to use this area of interest for language experience, how might she extract the text she's about to write? Feel free to stop the tape here before continuing.
Let's clear the table, Paul, so that we can do some work.
Got ourselves some mud.
What you were telling me about them making the mud bricks is really interesting. We could write that down, and you could read what we write and get to know some of the words that are involved with making the mud bricks. Now,
That's
what
good.
did you tell me? To make mud bricks, we need...
Sand, mulch, clay, and some water.
Right. So I'll write this down.
Okay.
To make mud bricks, we need
some mulch.
We need mulch.
Right. Sand. some clay
Clay
and some water.
and water. Now, how did you tell me you mixed it?
Notice
You can mix it
Maureen
by hand
asks
in a barrow.
open-ended questions to help Paul recall what he had already told her about the mud bricks, rather than trying to write as a student first spoke, or expecting the student to be able to dictate or recite what he had previously said.
In a barrow.
Or in a half water tank. You make more that way.
How much you choose to work on will depend on the student's reading ability and interest. More can, of course, be recorded and worked on in future sessions.
Tank. Is that when you feel like you're going to do a lot of work that day?
Yeah, that's when I feel
Use a
energetic.
half-water
Yes,
tank.
exactly.
All right. Now, what can we say about how we dry them?
How we dry them. Well, we dry them in the sun. I let the sun take care of that.
All right. We dry them in the sun.
Now Maureen has the story to work on. What approaches to reading might be used? Again, feel free to stop the tape before discussion.
Now we have this piece of writing, Paul. I think we'll read the first two sentences. Firstly, I'll read it through, and you can follow as I read. The next time we could read it together, and then you could have a go reading it on your own.
We'll give it a go.
To make mud bricks, we need mulch, sand, clay, and water.
Water.
We mix it by hand in a barrow or in a half-water tank. Now let's have a go reading it together.
Right.
To make mud
bricks. We need mulch, sand, and
clay
clay and
and
water. Okay.
We
Mix it by hand and
In some cases, the tutor may need to read the passage several times before the student is confident to join in.
in a half water tank. Water tank.
That's fine. Now you try.
Now I try. To make mud bricks, we need mulch, sand, clay, and water. We mix it by hand in a barrow or in a water tank.
What do you
Half water tank.
think? That's fine, Paul.
It's a half water tank.
How do you feel about that?
Great.
Notice the student has little problem with the vocabulary in this passage, as the language used is entirely his own.
Thanks for the coffee, Paul.
Oh, that's okay. You did the hard bit. You did the writing.
Well, I've written out the sentences here, and all the words in those sentences are on these cards here.
All right.
what I want you to do is, when I hand you a card, I want you to match it with the word on the paper.
Okay.
So if we do the first one together, and I give you sand,
Sand.
we see where it will go, and
Goes there.
we put it on there. All right?
Okay.
I'll give you the word mulch.
Mulch. Mulch. Mulch. There.
This is the beginning of a sentence. We.
Many students do extremely well at this activity as they are simply matching words or copying. With a more advanced reader, this exercise may be omitted. However, it can help to reinforce recognition of words.
This one? Make.
And bricks.
The tutor and student continue with this process until the sentences are complete. When finished, the student reads the passage.
This one is hand.
It's hand. Okay. Where's hand?
What I want you to do now, Paul, is to take some words away from the story. So if I ask you to find a word, I'd like you to pick up the card with that word on. Can you find the word bricks?
Bricks. Bricks. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Bricks.
Right.
Students will use a variety of reading strategies in this exercise, including phonics, sight, mnemonics, and context.
Now, up here. Make.
That's fine.
Right?
Get that one?
Oh, yeah, got the R's.
That one?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple.
Either one
Get
will
them
do.
both? Ah, okay. There's one.
Water.
Water. This one? Water. It's water. Right.
Now, mulch.
Mulch. Well, yeah, this one.
Similarly, the tutor and student will continue this activity until all the words have been removed from the sentence.
Hand. This one? Hand.
Well, it does start with an H, as hand does.
Must be the other one then. That's,
Why do you say that?
well, that starts with a H there. I just got the wrong one. This one?
That is the right one.
Hand.
All right, barrow.
Barrow. What's the big one? Heavy to push around. I know that one. The barrow.
So that's a big one.
Yeah, got that one.
Now, before proceeding, let's take a look at question 3. What could you suggest as a home exercise for Paul in relation to the language experience covered today? Feel free to stop the tape before discussion.
Now we have all these words, Paul, we could put them in your alphabet box. You know, we've done this before.
Yes, the ABCs. Right.
What you can do is you can take the alphabet box home along with the story. And when you're at home, you can take some of the words out of the box and see if you can read them.
Right.
Now, you may find this is quite difficult
Yeah, probably.
because it's not in the story. Just picking out an individual word and looking at it, I think you will find will be more difficult than when we read through the story. Because when we read through the story, we have an idea of what's going to come next. So if you have difficulty with knowing what the word is,